All right, so here we are again for another completely unprofessional and very low quality, low rent, low budget video of me simply sitting on the floor talking to my MacBook in dodgy sort of lighting conditions. And it's really windy and rainy outside right now too, so you might hear weird things clanging around, but that's good. It just contributes to the overall lack of professionality and attention to detail. So anyways, the title of this video is Demystifying Stress and Anxiety. And to counterbalance everything I just talked about, I actually wrote an outline for this video, which I really never do. So this should be fun, it should be interesting. So where does most of this stuff come from? The fact is, if you're a human being and you haven't experienced or you don't experience stress and anxiety, I don't know, it's hard to imagine that because I'm just going to wager that most of us deal with it to some degree pretty much all the time. So where does it come from? Well, if we want to simplify it, we want to look at it and break it down, we can see that really most of it oftentimes comes from a sort of conditioned pressure that we all have, we've all been given since we were born, to basically be something or to become something, or we should do something. And we're all taught, that we're all very special and unique, and we have all this opportunity, and we have all this, and we have all that, and we just have to do something, and if we don't do it, then we're a failure, and we're wasted our life, and we wasted this, and we wasted that. And oftentimes what that creates is a shitload of stress and anxiety because of this pressure. It's like, I have to do something. I feel like I have to do something. I feel like I have to be something. I feel like I have to become something or do something. And really this is what our whole education system is based on. Most of our economy is based on this. Obviously most religion and spirituality is based on this as well. And it's really the mechanics or the dynamics which allows that whole thing to exist and to run and to perpetuate itself. And there's nothing wrong necessarily with any of that stuff. It's not what this video is about. It's not what I'm saying. It's totally up to you for you to decide for yourself. Really, what we're coming to see is that all of these things, which mostly causes pressure and stress and anxiety, are just someone else's opinion or someone else's mental construct. That is to say, to a very large degree, it's just made up. It's just someone else's experience that maybe they wrote down or maybe they codified, and then that was given to us and we were told, oh, this is just how things are. And so what happens is we develop an orientation or a perspective on life or a paradigm towards life, or however you want to call it, that really revolves around imagination, expectation, and attachment to whatever we are defining as the thing. So the thing that we need to be, the thing that we need to become, or the thing that we just have to do. And it's just really entertaining to sit back and watch just how natural the tendency is to just like get one thing and replace it with another and replace it with another, and just observe how easy it is to just continually add and add and add and add things to where we just feel like we're overwhelmed. And this is funny too, like observing when people sort of use this busyness kind of thing or this like stress and anxiety as like a sense of accomplishment. It's like, oh, I'm so busy, I'm just doing this, I'm doing that, and I have to do this and I have to do that. Oh, I'm just so stressed out, I'm just so, all these things I just don't know. And it's like, what is being said, it's like kind of braggadocious in a way. It's like, oh, look how cool I am, look at all this stuff I'm doing. But really, it's all pretty irrelevant most of the time. And it's not necessarily based on joy or love or pleasure or enjoyment most of the time. But it's just this orientation to be like, I have to do all these things and be all these things and achieve all these things, otherwise what am I? Because my self-worth and self-esteem and all these things that I think I need and want are all attached to these external things. So let's look at some really really mundane, really silly examples. Well, obviously one of them is like this whole thing about, the progression through the education system and the job system. So what we're told is that, oh, well, you start out at the beginning, and if you just get good grades and work your way up, and then you get this degree, and then, okay, I got this bachelor's degree, but now I'm going to get this other degree, and then that other degree is going to let me get the other degree, which is going to let me get the better job and the better money, and then I'll have more free time, and then I'll be able to do the things I want to do, and then I'll be able to do da-da-da-da-da-da. My life will be all of these things, and it will be all of these ways. But the reality is that if we were to actually use the bullshit process that we're supposedly learning, which is, pragmatism and the scientific method and being very logical, if we were to actually use that process on the very process, we would see that it's actually not real most of the time, because statistically speaking, logically speaking, pragmatically speaking, rarely, if ever, does all of that stuff ever actually play out or ever actually happen. Because the thing is, we're being sold a paradigm. But then the very paradigm that we're being sold isn't being applied to itself to actually verify whether or not it actually works or whether or not it's actually worth it. Which is weird to imagine, but that's what happens. People, I'm in school, I'm learning all this stuff, I'm super logical and practical, and my left brain is so blah, 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 I know all these facts. It's like, well, why don't you actually apply them to your life and see that, okay, let's look at the mathematics. I'm going to be X amount of dollars in debt so I can make this amount of money. Maybe. Well, what is the probability? What is the likelihood? What am I going to sacrifice? What am I going to lose? What am I going to gain? Maybe. And actually looking at it, instead of just saying, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and this, and this, and this is going to happen. Rarely does that ever actually happen. Sometimes. Obviously, again, I'm not putting anything down. I'm not saying something is good or bad, right or wrong. But if we look at, like I said, just using logic and pragmatism and statistics and whatever the fuck you want to call it. So another way in which it plays out, which is, again, super basic, super mundane example, is relationships. We think, okay, well, I want to be with this kind of person, I need this kind of person, or whatever. Because if I do this, then I'm going to get this, then I'm going to get that, and then the relationship's going to be like this, and then we're going to have this kind of life, and we're going to do this kind of thing, But the issue is that we have this type of idea, and the other person has the idea, and then what happens is, people are just fighting over, well, no, this is my idea. No, this is my idea. Well, no, this is my idea. No, this is my idea. And it's just back and forth. And it's this power struggle, which, again, isn't based on love. It's not really based on connection. Usually it's kind of just based on, well, this is what I learned, this is what I heard, this is someone else's opinion, now I'm allowing it to come through me and give it to you as if it were my own, and we're going to go back and forth, and maybe we'll hear each other, or maybe not, who knows. Just again, these are like really, really basic, really simple examples that are very exaggerated and extreme to hopefully illustrate some of the points. Obviously I could give more examples, but kind of get the idea. It's just basically rarely, if ever, do those things ever play out as if we think they should. So not that those are good or bad, right or wrong. What we're talking about is how most of the time what happens is a lot of anxiety about when, where, and if what we think should happen will happen. So will it happen? How will it happen? Where will it happen? When, where, how, if, who, when, all those things. We're just constantly going back around. So to recap, what happens is, number one, we negate whatever potential or spontaneity or creativity or natural flow or harmony that already existed, which was likely greater than our expectation in the first place. And so we negate that because we're trying to force and coerce this thing, which is usually someone else's opinion. And then second is that wastes a lot of energy, obviously. And third is we end up cultivating and creating a lot of anxiety and worry about whether or not our imagination will come true. Because that's literally, it's what it is. It's our imagination. Because if we're seeing things in here, that's imagination. And that's where most people are living most of the time. Just making shit up all the time. And it's like, okay, you're going to dedicate your life to this thing. Well, how will you ever actually know whether it will happen? How will you know when you have it? How will you know when it's been achieved? How will you know when it's not been achieved? All of these basic things, but it's just like, it's like, okay, if you're going to live from your head, if you're going to try to be logical, at least like really go for it if you're going to do it. Or if not, then whatever. I mean, it's kind of a different tangent conversation. So to recap, really the reality is maybe that we just don't really know. I mean, that's really maybe sometimes what it boils down to. Because we operate or orientate ourselves from an illusion that we can kind of take credit for things. Meaning, this thing happened, oh, so I succeeded. Or it didn't happen, oh, so I failed. I'm sad. And really both are fairly inaccurate and or short-sighted and or limited in their perspective. Because we're going to take credit for this thing, but it's like, how are we even aware of the myriad of things which had to converge and harmonize and synchronize for that thing to even be potentially whatever, and just on and on and on and on. So a funny story to kind of sum it up is basically about, it's like a Taoist story, I think it's from Chuang Tzu. It's basically about this like monkey keeper or whatever, which who in the hell keeps monkeys, but whatever. Apparently there's a dude who had some pet monkeys. So basically, he would feed the monkeys, twice a day, morning and evening. And in the morning, he would give the monkeys, 3 pieces of fruit. In the evening, he would give them 4. But they didn't like that. They got really pissed off. So he gave them 4 in the morning, and then 3 in the evening. And then they were happy, and they were totally stoked about it. So what does that mean? I don't know. I have to figure it out. I have to relate it to your own life. So then the final question is, well, how then do we really know? What then should we do? Like, we're here, we're alive, well, what should we do? I don't know. If you're looking for me to tell you that then I can't. I don't know. It's not gonna work out too well. It's kind of part of being a grown-up, I guess, is just asking ourselves these questions and figuring out or not. I don't know. It's not my job. So yeah, hopefully this demystifies stress and anxiety a little bit and gives you some idea or some experience or understanding about how most of the time it's just from this societally conditioned thing that we're all sort of given, which coincidentally, like I mentioned before, religion, spirituality, and education all prey on it. And I think I did a video a couple years ago called like Demystifying or Deconditioning the Human Game or something, and it's basically breaks this down even to a more detailed degree. So if you want to learn more, then check out that video. It's pretty good too. Anyways, hopefully this video has been good, and I'll talk to you soon.